Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Jason and Derek here.
Derek, we saw these photos come out in the last couple days of Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde, one of the great most extraordinary breakups that we've seen.
Messy.
Acrimony. He served her legal papers while she was on stage. It's been awful. We saw pictures come out.
The salad dressing, Harry Styles.
Yeah.
I mean, it had everything.
It had everything. I do want you to explain the salad dressing at some point in this podcast because a lot of people don't know about it, but it's fascinating. But they were hugging. It didn't seem like it was a warm embrace of two people reconciling. That wasn't the case. It was the warm embrace. It was the cooler embrace of two people who are trying to put their differences beside them and move on in a cordial way.
Yeah, they're co-parenting. It looked like a co-parenting hug to me. It didn't seem sexual in any way. It seemed cordial. I think that's the best way to put it.
I love how you think there's nothing between co-parenting and sexual. I just warm was where I was going.
Warm, but not in the way that is like fun.
So they are continue to hash out how their child support will be handled. There was obviously the hug is important because it showed that they are at least being cordial with one another, which is great. Because they were nasty. A real dislike had developed between them, and hopefully that's breaking down for the sake of their two children.
Their lawyer's not so cordial, though.
Not so cordial. She wants some child support. He doesn't want to pay it. What's going on?
Yeah, a lot is going on between where this divorce and all the custody and child support issues should be decided. Jason, SNL alum, Saturday Night Live, he prefers
Famous
New York.
New Yorker.
Famous New Yorker. And his lawyer, Bill Beslow, tells us he went to a New York judge to resolve all the child support issues, and he says, I want to present them here. But last July, the New York judge in the case and the California judge ruled that this should all be handled in L.A., where Olivia is based.
Custody issues should be handled.
Custody, yes.
Right. But now he said he's initiating these proceedings in New York
over child support.
Over support. And she's saying, I thought this was already resolved. There's a big reason for this.
Yeah.
New York law is a lot more friendly to the parent, typically the man, but not always, who's paying the money to the mom of the
You can get a lot more child support in California.
There you go.
That's it,
You
right?
get a lot more child support
I mean,
in California.
Olivia, if she...
It's not just more, though. It's the levels for even getting it are easier to overcome in California. In New York, you have to do more proof and showings and things like that. She's obviously a wealthy woman in her own right.
Yes.
She just doesn't have Ted Lasso money.
Yeah, and the fancy name for this amongst lawyers is called forum shopping. You look for the best court to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So if he thinks that the child support issues will resolve in his favor in New York better, he's going to push his lawyer to keep the case, at least that issue, in New York and argue that, hey, custody is separate from child support. Olivia, for her part, wants to have the highest amount of child support she can get. She says custody is the same thing as child support. Let's resolve them all in California.
Yeah.
So that's where you get it. She's got the top divorce lawyer you can have,
Laura
Laura Wasser, who is
at least in the realm of celebrity.
In the realm of celebrity divorce.
Yeah.
So they're going to battle this out. I think she will probably prevail. And the reason I say that is judges don't like to necessarily have their orders, step on each other's toes. There's generally a sense of comedy, right?
C-O-M-I-T-Y.
Yeah, where judges respect the turf of another judge.
Right. Now, there is, as much as judges like to respect each other's turf, they also, some judges, we don't know who these judges are in this particular, or much about them, they also like to have cameras on them sometimes, right?
Big point.
They like to be part of the news. They're human beings just like anybody else. Yeah. They like their fame. They like what comes with it. And
he might be saying, I don't want to lose my Sudeikis case.
New York might be, I don't want to lose my Sudeikis. I like going to cocktail parties, and people walk up to me and go, you got the Sudeikis case, and you can talk about it. Now, Jason Sudeikis is not saying he doesn't want to pay any child support.
No.
He just wants to pay what he deems a reasonable amount. I'm sure if you were to ask Olivia, she would say, I just want a reasonable amount. But
what those amounts are may be very different in their heads.
Right, and they probably think that each other are unreasonable. If they didn't, they would have resolved it by now.
Yeah, here's what I think is interesting. So this is on the heels of those pictures coming out where, like you said, it was cordial. I don't think this is uncommon where the two combatants can be cordial to one another. I don't think it's fake. In other words, what I think you have are you have your hired bulldogs to have the fight, and you try to keep things peaceful between the two of you. Is that not like? Do you think they're faking it? I think they actually have harsh feelings towards each other, but they also know that, hey, during this hug, let's just let our lawyers fight. We don't really need to be angry with one another. Let's just let this be handled in court. Or you think it's just a cover? Like, if you hire a lawyer, you actually hate each other.
I don't think it's a cover. The skeptic in me thinks they knew the cameras were there. Mm-hmm. And they want to be part of the discussion. That's the skeptic in me. I've worked here long enough that we see this all the time, where celebrities who otherwise poo-poo the cameras and don't like it, nevertheless understand the relevance that comes by being covered by the TMZs of the world, not just TMZ, but others. And you hadn't heard much about them in a while. And if you had, it was about court documents. But we haven't seen their faces much. And so the skeptic in me thinks this was all for the cameras. And I hate to say it because it's really cynical, but I'm cynical.
My read of Jason in that moment,
Jason
he did
Sudeikis,
smile.
not me.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Jason Sudeikis in that moment is a bit of smugness. Tell me if you feel this. So his wife has a dalliance with a younger man. I think Olivia Wilde's around 35. Harry Styles is a rock star in his mid to late 20s.
It's not just the younger man. One of the 5 most famous people in the world right now.
Yes.
Insanely famous.
Jason's a little bit older. They'd had 2 children together. He's even a little older than Olivia.
Yeah.
And I think he looked at that situation as, wow, this will burn out quickly and you will regret this. And now I take some small amount of satisfaction in seeing how it flamed out in your face. And now she's not coming back with her tail between her legs, but there's a sense of like, I told you so. Did you see that in his face?
Yeah, maybe.
And I think
Boy, are you reading it? There's no way to see that in his face. You're reading that.
I read it all
in the situation.
On that face. Yeah.
But it's interesting. There's a bit of sexism there, right? Because he's
Sure.
been banging around whoever he wants to, 24-year-olds, and nobody would ever think twice about that flaming out and him just getting his. And
yes,
we've never said, boy, Leo's going to flame out and what he's going to regret those 26-year-olds he keeps having sex with.
True. Although you ask about the salad dressing, the brief story about that was, she left him, apparently, for Harry Styles, who she fell in love with on the set of Don't Worry, Darling, which was a catastrophe in and of itself.
I liked
but
the movie.
It actually was
Did you see
okay.
it? I liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But she apparently was preparing some salad dressing, some special recipe to bring over to Harry's house. They had an argument over it, Jason found out, and then some of the reports say he tried to lie on the ground in front of her car so that she wouldn't leave. Just not a very flattering portrayal of Jason Sudeikis in the last moments.
And then he serves her with papers.
Yeah.
Legal papers while she's on stage. I forgot where she was, but she was on stage somewhere. A Don't Worry, Darling event.
A server comes up.
And a process server comes and hands her papers. Now, Sudeikis said, "Look, I never would have asked for that to happen. I didn't know it was going to happen. I definitely would have told him not to do it there." But look, right? But you're talking about a cynic, skeptic.
You're right. I get cynical about that stuff, because they'll do whatever you ask them to do, and they'll
also do anything. If you say go serve her, they'll serve her.
Yeah.
And you have to put limits on them if you don't want it. And he didn't put those limits on her. But in any event. So where does this go from here? I guess they're going to wait for a court ruling. I'm sure behind the scenes there's real efforts to resolve this.
Yeah, there's a hearing set for February 15th. So we'll have some resolution soon because, look, it all hangs in the balance. They do have 2 children together. They have to figure out these child support issues because they probably have a sort of preliminary order or temporary order in place, but you have to figure out what that's going to be long term.
He makes more money than her?
I think it's... I don't know. She's more in movies, so I think her income is a little bit more uneven because she has a project or doesn't, and he's in television. So if you have a season of Ted Lasso, he's making big bucks. I think he's probably steadier.
Good money, really good money. I mean, look, I would kill for that money.
Apple pays a lot. I guess.
Apple pays a lot.
They got a lot of money.
But Don't Worry, Darling was a commercial success, wasn't it? I just.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're a director and it's her movie. I think she wrote the script, she bought the project, she directed the project. I think it was a huge payday for her.
I agree. I think she's in some demand after she directed Booksmart. That was a huge sort of
right.
hit,
that was a big
and that
indie
gave her all
hit.
these opportunities.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes.
Speaking of relationships gone south.
Good segue, Jay.
Yeah. Tom Brady and football are divorcing.
Yeah, that's it. So Tom Brady, rather than a long and drawn-out process, even before the Super Bowl, he gets on his Instagram and just fires up a video. He looks like he's outside on a beach in the morning, and he gets right to it. He says, "I'm retiring for real this time." And he says, "I'm not going to get into a long retirement essay. I've already done that, and I sort of pulled the plug on that retirement, so I'm not going to do that again." He just says directly, "I'm retiring," says his thank yous. You can hear a catch in his throat. He says, "Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point. I'm retiring for good." Then goes through, sort of his respect for the fans and how it allowed him to live out his dream. And you can really hear that this guy is sad.
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So I won't be long-winded. Like, you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year. So really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, my family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
He's sad about it. He's lost his marriage. His career is now over.
This is a guy who he seems a bit inauthentic sometimes.
Yeah, wooden or sort of plastic.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. He's got the whole TB12 thing where you don't he's put off a lot of his teammates and coaches and coaching staff because he's so regimented in everything he does. There's a serious catch in his voice here. There's going to be a lot made of the fact that apparently he and Giselle split because of his refusal to retire. More and more is coming out that may not have been the case.
Right,
and
I think marriage had problems. It's probably not the only cause.
I can't believe that it is. And whatever. I mean, we don't want to speculate too much. But
she got really into jiu-jitsu. I mean, these things happen. People pick up hobbies.
Yeah. I like this retirement. I thought it was a really moving sort of, couple of minutes that he spoke. I believe that he's reached the end. By the way, he's still very good. I know he had a terrible season, but he's still, if you look at the advanced metrics and the stats that a lot of football wonky people look at, he's still really, really good. There's no shortage of teams that would have paid him $20, $30, $40 million. That's a lot of big range. $40 million to come play for him this year. He's got way more than that. He doesn't need it, but but he turned down a lot.
I find this, so he's the GOAT. I mean, look, he 7 rings, has the all-time passing record, the all-time touchdown record. I still find it unsatisfying because when the guys do it this way, Michael Jordan is the other big retirement. He had the shot over Brian Russell, and then he retires on the Wizards years later in sort of like the declining, his declining skills were on display. Brady, he didn't decline as much, but he ended in a first-round exit to the Cowboys, who were then eliminated in the next round. I find it like sad that he didn't leave after that Super Bowl victory with Tampa. That was the time to leave. That was the time for Jordan to step away. And I know they get to leave on their own terms. He's earned that. But I feel like they always do it the wrong way. They stay a couple years too long.
But
don't you think?
You're projecting your own fandom onto Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, I wanted his sort of fairy tale ending.
I know, but in the meantime, A, he was still highly skilled, made the playoffs every year, and B, in that time, he probably made $60 million.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of
retire.
reasons to stick around. There's a lot of reasons to stick
we
around.
can claim that it would be nice if he retired so we can have storybook endings, but that's not the way it works.
And it doesn't diminish legacy. Look at Michael Jordan. It's still considered, I mean, I know you're a big LeBron guy, but like he's still considered the GOAT by a lot of people.
People that don't know the game. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
What does he do now? He starts his Fox football
so that's the other thing.
Career.
Apparently he's got this enormous contract to do
what
commentating.
Landing, huh?
Jesus, he's going to make more as an announcer, or almost as much as an announcer as a football player. Has this enormous contract with Fox to announce games. He's going to be the face of Fox. It's not going to be like you're just going to see him on Sundays in football season. He is going to be across every show, promoting every game. I think it's a 365 job. I don't think it's just 12 weeks or 17 weeks during the football season.
Let me ask you a question. You're very into football. You follow the commentating. I know there's Tony Romo is sort of unparalleled in his ability to sort of break down plays before they happen and so forth. Peyton Manning has cornered the sort of humorous thing with his brother. He does a great job.
Troy Aikman's more of the staid, been there a long time, tells it as it is kind of guy.
What's Tom? Is Tom going to be first? Is he going to be great at it? And second, is he going to carve out some sort of niche?
There's nothing we've seen from him to suggest he's going to be great at this job, to be honest with you. He's not particularly funny. He doesn't have that sort of – Tony Romo's kind of funny up there. Yeah. And Tony Romo's got a real ability to kind of, convey to the audience in simple man terms what's happening. Tom Brady, he could surprise us. Yeah. But I've never seen anything to suggest he's going to be that good at it. And he's a little wooden, a little stiff. Also, Tony Romo apparently was totally beloved by his teammates and everybody around the league. They thought he was funny, the whole thing. Nobody likes Tom Brady.
I know.
Nobody loves Tom Brady. I think everybody respects and admires him, but nobody loves him.
Let me posit something because this fascinates me. The greatest never really make the greatest announcers. Michael Jordan, not an announcer, not really good at it. He's been, you'll sometimes hear him as a guest.
Frankly weird.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky, strange.
Tiger Woods can't do it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, too sort of prickly.
Couldn't do it.
Is it because there's no humility in those guys? They're the greatest, so there's never an ability for self-deprecation. The greatest in basketball, Charles Barkley, not the greatest player of all. Certainly tremendous. Right. I mean, a Hall of Famer, but never during any era was Charles Barkley the man. And I wonder if you need to be very great so that you're a respected voice, but not the best, not considered the GOAT, because I don't know a GOAT who's the best
great
at it.
theory. I'm trying to think of who the best. Troy Aikman's a Hall of Famer, but on the Barkley scale, sort of great Hall of Famer.
Romo's perfect. He was like kind of pretty good, never really reached his potential.
Right, maybe the worse you are at the game, the better you are at announcing.
Something to think about.
It's something to think. You and I might kill it out there.
That's why we make good pod.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you next time.